You know, back in the old days, there was this program called Layaway where you can go into like a store and start making payments on something, some high dollar ticket item. And once you paid that off every month, it was yours. You could take it home. That's how I bought my first deer rifle from the Marine Corps PX on Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. And it was the first, weapon that I bought that I purchased myself. It wasn't a hand-me-down. It wasn't my dad's. It wasn't anything like that. So I went and I picked out this 30-06, and I just didn't have a lot of money. And so I did the layaway program, but I needed a scope on it. And the cheaper scopes were all sold out. And so I bumped up to like this entry-level loophole scope and put that on the layaway program and had them all, put the whole package together for me and all that. Made the payments and finally got to bring it home. Ever since then, almost every rifle I've owned has had a loophole scope. In fact, I'm having a custom rifle built this year, and it's going to have the loophole Mark 5 HD scope on it. I just killed a buffalo with that scope. It's a really great product. And loophole guys, you know them. Everybody knows loophole. They've been around since like 1907. They started as like a special instrument company or something like that. But these American-made products are fantastic. Whether you're looking for a spotter, binos, a rifle scope, accessories, tripods, bipods, all that kind of stuff. You can find it all at loophole.com. And I'd really appreciate if you supported this American company that has a great American story. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of a company. And I'm so happy and thrilled that they've chosen to partner with the Western Huntsman. Thanks to Leupold, and thanks to you guys for supporting our great sponsors. I'd like to welcome Mystery Ranch as a sponsor to the Western Huntsman. This is a great product. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Mysterium line. Those packs include the Sawtooth 45, the Sawtooth 65, the Beartooth 85, and the Marshall 105, depending on, what you're doing with the pack. If you from day pack to backcountry, plenty of space. I like what they wrote on the website. Between the disciplines of calculated preparation and in-the-moment focus, an intangible alchemy exists. We call it Mysterium. It is our most ambitious, tech-rich line of Mystery Ranch hunting packs, constructed for the most methodical hunters. I'd agree with that. It's a great pack, guys. I really like the ventilation system. When you put it on, it's nice and tight, but you're still breathing a little bit less of that buildup between the pack and your back when you're sweating and out there packing through the mountains and whatnot. It's a super functional pack, very comfortable, very good at carrying loads. I've been using it all spring between bear and just like I do a lot of rucking to keep in shape, and it has done a phenomenal job. I've got a lot of top-of-the-line packs out there, and I've always kind of geeked out with packs, but I really do like the weight distribution and the way that it allows you multiple options as to where you're going to either carry a water bladder or one of those Contigo containers or whatever you're going to use. Really impressed. I love the ease of how everything functions on it, too. You don't need to watch a bunch of videos to figure out how to undo everything to pack a bunch of meat out. That's really important for a guy like me, I promise. I'm not super smart. So the simplicity, the comfort, the load distribution, it all makes for a wonderful backcountry hunting pack. If you are in the market, check it out at mysteryranch.com/mysterium. There exists a threat from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman Podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Tine Studio right here in northwest Montana, in very orange northwest Montana, I should say. All the trees are finally changing and whatnot. So, guys, this week I have somebody on the show that it's kind of cool. Eastman's is linked up with an outfit called The Draw, and I've got Jordan Christensen on, and we're going to get a little bit of information about drawing tags, and I like doing it this early in the year because the draw and the tag season tends to kind of sneak up on everybody. And so we are going to do it this way. And Jordan, I appreciate you joining me, man. We've got like a weird echo going on.
Oh, I appreciate being here. I can't hear it too much on my end, but you're probably getting the recording of it. So, is it any good? It's good now, or
I'm not getting an echo when you talk. It's just me. So I think we're good.
Okay.
We're good now.
Perfect. Yeah, no, thank you for having us on, and yeah, we're excited. Been doing applications myself for, I think this is going into my 12th year now. I was a consultant at Cabela's Tags for a number of years, a long time ago, and then we got started with not too long after kind of the Bass Pro Cabela's deal merged. I kind of branched off and started the draw with a buddy of mine, Jason Browning. That was back in 2018, and we've been chipping away at it, and I can barely read, so thank God working through applications worked out, because I don't know what else to do other than help people draw tags. And then, you know, this past summer, really it's been about a year, but really this past summer we hit a lot of momentum with Ike and Scott there at Eastman's, and we couldn't be, like, it's an understatement how excited we are to be working so closely with Eastman's and all that they are.
Man, it's such a perfect tie-in with everything with what you guys do, and Eastman's. You know, they've got the Tag Hub and all these resources to help people get out in the field and hunt. You know, and it's
Right.
kind of the I don't know, the essence of what Eastman's is always just getting people out west, or getting them finding tags, helping them walk through that process. Because, man, I don't know if there's, I will never be the guy that like masters the application, the complexities of the Western application and tag draws. It's just beyond my mental capabilities.
No, it's and they throw curveballs at us all the time, right? Like we've got some big changes coming in 2028 in Colorado. We've got a huge change that they still haven't really released all of the exacts on what Idaho with all their general stuff is going to look like this coming year, and Montana maybe 4 years ago when they introduced the outfitter preference and some of that whole program. It's evolving constantly. And then the other big one too is different than, you know, I'm like one of the luckiest guys that I know. My dad, I grew up in super small town, central Utah, one mountain away from some guys that were really getting into this even almost 20 years ago, and he kind of saw the vision and got me started with applications when I was quite young in a few different places. And I remember application season in my house being this like winter, early spring type of moment, and we kind of submitted a few applications, and then it was done. And fast forward to now, we have some sort of deadline in every single month of the year. There's not a single month of the year that there isn't some sort of deadline to keep track of. And some of them are as basic as just a point only application, like Wyoming's is tomorrow, right? And
Oh yeah, I better do that.
Yeah, there you go. Montana's was at the end of last month, but so some are very kind of straightforward. But then there is still lots of different uh, deadlines that are a means to go hunting, not just a point only deadline, and that spans the entire year. And so to keep up with it, it's almost like, I would say, how does a job like this exist? I think because that process across the West has gotten so robust. If you don't stare at it all day, every day, unfortunately, there's so much money and, more importantly, time involved in this, in what the kind of the end result is. That if you're not staring at it all the time, unfortunately, it bites you in the ass. I mean, that's it's a super common thing for us is to get that call, the day after a deadline, and the guy's like, I missed it, and I'm never gonna miss it again. So I just
Hmm.
need someone to help me,
Yeah.
so that it doesn't happen. Yeah.
What now? Where'd you grow up in Utah at?
So I grew up in a little teeny town called Glenwood. It was about 250 people. It's about 9-10 miles outside of Richfield, Utah.
Oh, okay.
Um, so that's where I went to high school, was Richfield High School, and just grew up in little farming community in the middle of nowhere. Everyone's like, oh,
Hmm.
so like Salt Lake, and I'm like, well, like 3 hours south of Salt Lake, and they're like, oh, so like St. George, and I'm like, well, like 3 hours north of St. George, like
I know. Yeah.
literally in the middle of nowhere, which is great. Like what a hell of a place to grow up.
Yeah. I grew up in both San Pete County and Draper, Utah.
Oh, you did
Um,
really?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So my
nice.
my family's still got a ranch down in San Pete County. Um, kind of, yeah, north of Gunnison there, so not very far
Okay,
from Richfield. Yeah.
there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. They
So
did you go to was your doctor in Gunnison?
no, he would have been, but by the time all that kind of stuff came around, I don't know. I never went to the doctor down there. I was always up in like Draper.
Oh, okay, that's where my doctor, oddly enough, was we would drive all the way to Gunnison to go to
Oh,
my,
really?
yeah, like the family doctor, which I get that's not even really a thing anymore, family doctors, but we had one back then, and
Yeah,
that's where we
yeah.
go with Gunnison. Yeah.
Now it's all corporate conglomerates, man. I
Oh,
think from
yeah,
what I could
yes,
tell.
yeah.
So, well, cool. So yeah, we probably wandered up and down the same hills looking for mule deer and stuff. So,
Yeah, a
yeah,
long
I
time
want to
ago.
I want to kind of let's can you give us like a background on the draw, what the mission is, what it is, and give us an overall, an overarching, I guess, analysis of what is the draw.
Sure. Yeah. So, real basically, we are a hunting application service that helps people get applied for any and all applications that they're interested in, and the whole idea of it is we try and help people go hunting out west as often as they would like to, leveraging the application processes as often as we can to create that opportunity, which in turn typically comes to, it results in a big cost savings. If anybody's familiar at all with, most guys are, with some level of how these lottery systems work in the West to decide who gets to go hunting and not, and inherently we have lots of guys who don't draw each year, right? Like that's part of it. And so we do deal with lots of landowner permits and different opportunities that don't necessarily require applications, but just like our name, and it's very much the pillar, our foundation is understanding people's hunting goals and then showing them paths to achieve those goals using those applications to create the opportunity.
And so, and how is that going to tie into like Eastman's? Because I know
Yeah.
we've got there's the landing page there, but like walk us through that.
Yeah, I think I can Ike's vision on this and what he's thinking is kind of like, we'll call it it's an easy button, right? Like we
Hmm.
we feel like that there is so many guys that, especially because we're living in this new world where like Tag Hub exists, and so if they have the time and the motivation, there's so much great information that's at people's fingertips right now that they can go and dig through the research and find what they want and put their plans together and execute those plans. But to some extent, there is portion of the people in the country that even with all of that at their fingertips, that's just not them, and or they don't have the time to actually do that. And so we become an easy button for that demographic, really. Like that's why we still we do what we call free hunt plans with guys. Like we still have guys that just need somebody to break down a concept or throw them a bone on a unit selection or whatever that may be. And I mean, I can tell you myself, my two brothers, great examples. They'll never let me submit their applications. They love the research part of it. They love that whole, it's like this ritualistic process each year is doing that. And I can appreciate that entirely. That's the house I grew up in, and that's how even my two brothers are. Yeah, they still let me dabble in some stuff that they don't quite understand, but there is lots of guys that we found that, whether it's a time thing or on keeping up with deadlines or the research or whatever it is, that they want to participate, but they just don't have the time to devote to it to really get the most out of the investment that they're making. And that's how I've said this for a long time, especially when it comes to just submitting the applications. If you're the type of guy that has a really nice backyard, but you pay someone to take care of it for you, so that when you have time to be in your backyard, you're just enjoying it. You're not actively working in it. We are that same guy. We are the guy that goes and takes care of the backyard, so that when you take time, you're actively participating in it. You're not taking the time to work at it. It's just it's happening for you. And so that and like I said, we find that there's lots of guys that fall into that category that really do want to do it, but don't have the time to devote to it, to keep up with all of the changes and the deadlines and where the hot places are and things of that nature. And so we're an easy button for them. And I think that's where Ike's vision was. It's kind of what was the last piece of their puzzle. They've got the magazine, and you've got your blue chip units and stuff, and that's pretty basic. And then you've got a next level with Tag Hub that takes a deep dive into it. And maybe the last piece of that puzzle was just an easy button for Eastman's customers to just say, I love it, I want to do it, but I don't have the time. So one call with the draw, and now it is all happening for them without demanding a whole lot of attention throughout the year.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And there's even a third group, man, which is the one that I fall into. Because you said, there's people that they like to do the research, and then there's people that they want to do the research and try to figure it out on their own, but they don't have time, like the guy that can't take care of his backyard. And then there's guys like me. I don't want anything to do with the research. I don't have the attention span for it. Sure. I don't have the mental capacity for it. I just know that, okay, I've got so many points in, let's say, Wyoming. I know a little bit about Wyoming, but not that much. Where is the best direction for me to take this with the amount of points that I have, and the amount of money I have, and the amount of motivation I have? Do I want, some wild backcountry DIY hunt, or
you're
do I want to outfit
100%
it?
correct? And then that group, we see that come in both like in two different phases. We'll see guys really right on the front end of their, let's say, their path. They're plugging in with us, and away we go. But I would still say they kind of fit in that group. But we definitely get a number of guys a year that almost mindlessly have been applying for points. Maybe they're raising their families, or the career is really demanding, or whatever it is, but they have been doing that part of it. They get the points, and now they're kind of coming out this back end of life where they actually have the time, the money, both, whatever it is. And there is a lot of anxiety around having, a handful of points or more. And am I going to do the right things with it? Because I can't get the time back. So then we do have that. Our phone rings for that group of folks, a number of times a year as well, and it could be anything from 6 points to, it's not like crazy when a guy calls and he's like, I've got 20 points. I've been doing this 20 years and I finally have time. What am I going to do? Because I kind of have this, and it's really unfortunate. I wish I could get a hold of guys before that and show them more to do, because that guy that has 20 points, he's got this vision and this dream that's been building for 2 decades. And as you are a guide yourself, you know that when we start putting that into a 5-day window and saying, okay, all of what we just did for 20 years, all of our dreams are going to come true in this 5-day, 9-day window because it's our turn to go. Unfortunately, that's not super realistic. You could be on the best unit in the world for whatever species, and things happen. It's still hunting. And that's where,
Yeah.
like I said, I wish we could. That's what I love about helping guys really understand this process and how multiple states working together can create so many opportunities, so that almost like it's twofold, like that when the day comes when you draw that tag that took 20 years to draw, I think there's a chance that you're much more prepared for that, mentally and physically, and you have a better idea of what you're going into, and that's going to help you maximize that a lot better. And to the other extent is, maybe it's not, there isn't as much at stake when you burn that 20 points, because that you've been doing all sorts of other things along the way, and you have other things coming after it. But if it's that one state and you've just spent 2 decades, how is it not like everything's at stake right now? And
Yeah.
that's we do get that guy, though, that you are correct, that happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I'm like that with anything, man. I don't like to get, I have buddies that they're like, they're going to come over to my place to shoot their bow, and they could tell me, feet per second. They could tell me all these, spine this and FOC that, all this technical stuff with bows. Dude, that's just not my mentality.
Sure.
I am I don't know if I took this personality test, and what was that? I'm like this type A, I just want like big picture type stuff. How do I go do this? Right. And so like for me to sit and read through all the data on the perfect unit in Wyoming, it's just never going to happen. I'd rather call like a guy like you that really likes to geek out on that stuff.
Yes.
And just be like, hey man, what do you think with this? And you can walk me through it. And I think that's a valuable service, because there's a lot of people out there, like you said, they're doing the thing where they're building their points every year. But let's say they live in, somewhere back east, and they just don't have a clue as to what units are going to produce, the Western adventure that they've been looking forward to, versus the ones where they're just going to take their rifle or a bow for a walk through some sagebrush or something,
and adding to that, like, something that's become a thing in the last number of years, as these point systems have matured so much across all of the Western states, is we have like a new thing that's kind of come about. It used to be, if you just kind of mindlessly applied for the best unit in the state, then eventually it was going to be your turn and you got to go on that. Like there wasn't much thought to it. But now, as everything has matured so much, we have these what I call no man's land that happens, where you will is it, I think my screen froze. Are we good on audio still? Oh, hello.
Are you there?
Yep, there. I'm not sure what happened.
I'm not sure either. I think I lost my internet or something. It's a little stormy outside. I live way out in the sticks, man. So internet could be a little shaky. Sorry about that. Anyway,
yeah, no worries. So yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, as these states have matured so much, and we've come into this new thing that I call, like, or we call, no man's land. And no man's land is like, I have enough to do a bunch of these hunts down here, but the level up isn't another year or 2 years. Like, the level up could literally be another 10 years. And that type of stuff is really important for guys to understand, because I think if they just knew and they had a little more clarity on that. That's going to be different for everyone, but it does change your idea of, is this the right hunt? Well, it may not be everything that we dreamed of, but if the level up is 10 years further down the road and you're already 58 years old, well, all of a sudden that does line up a little bit better now, and you can make a conscious decision of that. And let's say that maybe that level up happened at 3 years and you're 58 years old, and now you're going to go into no man's land at 3 or 4 years. Well, that means that you could do this same hunt 3 times in that 10-year period.
Yeah.
And as you've been out there a lot. Like, one of the best ways to have something special happen is go more often. Like, be out there, right?
Yeah.
Let that opportunity happen. Where, again, if you put it in a 5 or 9 day window, 10 years down the road, and say, okay, all my dreams are going to come true, I would argue that more often than not, the guy that goes 3 times in that 10-year period is more likely for that moment to transpire, whatever it is that that you're dreaming up, than the one time 10 years later. Way more likely.
That's a great point, man. That's such a good point, because I can't tell you, doing a hunting podcast, a Western hunting podcast kind of that I've been doing, I get a lot of like these messages. What do they call that on the old Instagram there? The DM.
Right.
and people message me and they're like, hey, I'm finally coming out elk hunting. I've been building points for 15 blah blah years. They've never been on an elk hunt. They're going to some premium unit, and they're like, what kind of tips, what kind of calls should I get? What kind of arrows should I take? What kind of, physical condition? Man, here's the thing. If you're waiting that long to go on an elk hunt, if you would have went on 3 or 4 lesser unit hunts and had the experience in those tougher units, whether it's DIY or some, going with some outfitter or whatever, you go out there and you get your teeth kicked in on those less premium units, you are going to be way more skilled when you draw that great tag and you're in that premium unit, and your odds of success are going to be way higher, because then you wouldn't be worrying about asking some mouth breather like me what kind of gear you should take and what you should expect, and you're going to have some salt and some experience to be able to go into those woods and really put the pressure on those elk. So, or deer, whatever.
And I'll add to that too, which is like, okay, so when we draw one of those premier tags, right? Whether it's in Arizona, 3A, 3C, 9, 10, 1, whatever, right? Just like some of the very best the country has to offer, and that's our one time doing it. Or we're up in Montana and we're in a few of these, central Montana units that are producing some absolute just gigantic bulls, and you've never done this before. You've never been there before. And let's say you're with an outfitter and he's a talented caller. Opening morning at first light, a legit 300-inch bull comes screaming his head off at 25 yards. Like, I've guided so many times and been in this situation. There is few people on the planet that would have the capacity to pass that bull in that moment, and they shouldn't, in my opinion. Like, that, their heart's going to be beating out of their chest. This is the moment. It's everything that they dreamed of, and they let the arrow fly. They kill the bull, and they walk up and they immediately ask the guide, or they're going to ask the taxidermist later, or whatever it is, how big is this bull?
Yep.
And then they find out it's a 300-inch bull, and everything they read for 20 years was that something about this 350 plus number was stuck in their mind. And the reality is, could they have on that unit killed a 350 plus bull? Probably. They would have had a legitimate chance at it, but they weren't prepared to pass a 300-inch bull at 25 yards screaming their head off, because they'd never been there before. And so it's really hard to take full advantage of one of those elite tags if you've never done it before. How? Like, and I've been there. I've been on the Gila in New Mexico. I've been in Utah with guys that have in that same category, and they can want all they want for that 350, that 370, just that absolute mega bull, and you get a legit 300-inch good looking 6-point in front of them at 25 yards, and rightfully so, they shoot that bull because they've
Yeah.
never experienced anything so intense in their life.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It just rattles people, man. You get a screaming bull coming in and they've never had that experience. Some slobbering, pissed off, eyes rolled back bull comes screaming his face off, and it just rattles. It rattles me.
Let that moment happen on some of these other
Yeah.
subpar unit. Let that moment happen. It's awesome. I don't care if it's a 5x5. I don't care if it's a small, like whatever it is. Like, let that moment, the first time it happen, and let it happen in one of those types of areas. And then when you do finally draw that just ultra elite tag, like that moment can happen, and you still have the ability to let it happen, let it be done, and you keep looking for that absolute giant.
Yeah.
That is why you waited 20 years. That's why you
absolutely. I couldn't agree more, man. I think it's a mistake to let a 20-point type kind of hunt be your first hunt. And I don't care if we're talking mule deer, elk, whatever, because like that concept that you were saying, that happens all the time, at Elk Creek Outfitting where I guide. We'll get guys that show up and they're like, well, it's all about expectations, right? It's really expectations. We're hunting mostly, these public land units. This is not like a trophy class area. We get some big suckers in there, but this is tough country. It's varsity level hunting, and so we have to manage those expectations on day one. But oftentimes, I get people that not on the elk, but on deer. We get in Montana, we get this elk deer combo tag, and that's what everybody shows up with. And they're like, well, I'm not that interested in deer. I'd shoot one if it was 150 or better. That's always kind of what that range is, 150 or better. Man, the first freaking 3-point that walks out, they saw them almost every time. And it's because they oftentimes don't have the experience to identify, like a little 3x basket white point or whitetail walks out at 100 yards. He looks a lot bigger than he really is, and look more much, especially for people that don't look at deer all the time.
Sure.
And so I get it. I totally understand that energy or whatever, but that is where the experience really comes into play. And so getting back to the draw, I want to ask you about, like, what can you explain on the website? It says, pricing through the draw, members can choose between two powerful application options, non-floated hunt plan and a floated hunt plan. What's the difference between those two?
Sure. So the whole idea is to kind of two very unique customer experiences that folks can choose from, and they can do it year over year. They can go back and forth, and what it boils down to is on the non-floated hunt plan. What we're going to do is we go through our entire kind of onboarding consultation. That usually takes about an hour. We've got a lot of questions to ask guys to really dig in and understand what it is that their dreams are, their goals are, and what they're losing sleep about. And then at the end of that, we take all that information and we start saying, okay, we believe that because of this goal, we should have this application, this goal, this application, and we put together what we call our hunt plan. And at the end of that, then we have a service fee of $50 per application, that we would total all of that up and say, okay, if you're in the non-floated hunt plan, this is how much this year's hunt plan would cost. And we have a transaction for those service fees. And moving forward, then we just simply have the customer's credit card on file. And as we approach each of the different state deadlines, our girls will grab their stuff, log into the state account for them, process the application, and use their credit card to process that application as we submit. So any subsequent charges after we collect our service fees will be coming directly from each of the states that we're applying from, right? To include, if they draw a tag, that charge goes on their credit card and like that. The floated program is a couple of different things. It's so like Montana has the deer and the elk, and Wyoming has everything, and New Mexico has everything where they charge all of the money up front just to get your name in the hat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And our floated program is designed to address that and make that a lot more manageable for folks that want to be a lot more robust in what they're applying for. And so instead of $50 per species, it's $35 per species on the floated program. And if it's a state like the deer and elk in Montana or Wyoming or anything in New Mexico that has that upfront cost, we charge them 9% of the cost of the tag, and then we calculate a total, which is all of the hunting licenses, their application fees, all the non-refundable state fees, our service fees, and our float service fees into one number, and we charge that number out at the beginning of the year, and that's it. The customer never sees any other movement on their credit card throughout the entire process. When we submit the application, it actually goes on our card. So when um, I say it like this, like, if a guy's going to put in for just the big game, well, big game combo, fair enough. Like, and it's $1,200. I think it's $1,218 or something like that
Yeah.
in Montana, and that's it. That's all you're doing. Most guys that are going to go out of state probably have a credit card, that they can just put that on. And if you're going to put in the outfitter preference and get your other point, like, you're going to draw that tag. You might as well just pay it up front and get your name in, and the money's gone, and that's fine. But if we jump into Wyoming and we're looking at sheep, moose, goat, bison, if we look in New Mexico and we're going to do deer, elk, antelope, oryx, ibex, bighorn sheep, like, it doesn't take much at all for somebody who's pretty aggressively trying to hunt at least once a year somewhere, maybe twice a year, that you could have $20,000 to $30,000 tied up in those applications for a few months at a time, and that would just be for one individual. If we get the kids involved, and you've got some kids that you're trying to get active and get some stuff going on, obviously that can double, triple, quadruple, and so that floated program allows guys for a fraction of the cost to be that aggressive without having to come out of pocket with those large dollar amounts, that are tied up in the different state applications for months at a time. And then really where our shining diamond is, in my opinion, with the float program, is that we do have it worked out with our bank that kids apply free. So if I've got an adult that's signed up and paying full price in the program, then if he has 2, 3, 5, 6 kids, it doesn't matter how many kids that adult has, then we get to use that float at zero cost. So the only fees that kids under 18 ever have with the draw is whatever the state fee is.
Okay.
And so now, again, that's where that float really shines. Like, I never know which direction. There are some guys that love the idea that it's a one-time charge out per year. There are a lot more that have kids and are wanting to be pretty active with what the kids are applying for, where that float program really, really shines, and it helps a lot of guys be a lot more aggressive each year in what they're applying themselves and their families for. Whereas the non-floated side of things is just this kind of gradual charge out. It spaces it out over months at a time, if not the whole year, right? Depending on some of the applications, and it just kind of trickles throughout the year. And so I never know which direction guys are going to go, but when they do a hunt plan with us and we get done with it, then at that point we would kind of give them the Pepsi challenge. We send copies of both, and then we want to go over that with guys, and so they really understand what they're paying for and what the cost is. And like I said, so I guess I don't ever have a beat on it, which direction they're going to go. It's all the same to us. We just want to make sure that whatever we want to do it as many different ways as we can, so that whichever one makes the most sense for each customer is what we're doing.
Experience the evolution of accuracy with the new Browning X-Bolt 2. Guys, this rifle is something else. With the introduction of the X-Bolt, Browning has set a new standard in the development of bolt-action rifles. It was created around the goal of total accuracy, where every component worked in unison to improve downrange performance straight out of the box, from windswept tundras to rocky peaks high above the tree line to African plains and everywhere in between. The X-Bolt delivered the tack-driving accuracy a Browning rifle is respected for. And that's super true, guys. I really like this rifle from a standpoint of, like, it's not super heavy, it's not super light. I put a really nice scope on it. I love that Veritech stock, because that is like one of those pieces of accuracy that, that interface between the rifle and the shooter. Not everybody's the same size. The DLX trigger, you can get the plus magazine system for extra rounds. Great all-around rifle in the field. For those of you that are looking for a rifle this year to take to the field that you can feel real confident in and get really comfortable with, this is the rifle to check out. The Browning X-Bolt 2 should be one of your top contenders. Link is in the show notes. So non-floated is more, you're giving some guidance and acting more as a consultant, where floated is like you're taken on as if you are them. Am I understanding that right?
No, we take on, no, so every customer at the draw sign, we have to get a power of attorney, a limited power of attorney from each of the customers. It's very specific to submitting hunting applications, checking draw results, and it allows us to kind of click that box at the end of it that says I am who I say I am, and we're submitting government documents. So no matter which side they're on, the floated or the non-floated, we are actively submitting those applications for the customer. It's and then we, I've said this for a long time, we're as involved as they would like us to be. We have some guys that are very they have a plan. They know exactly what they want. This is where I want to be applied. This hunt, this date, all of that type of stuff. And fair enough, we get our notes and we put that in action. And we have other guys who just express what their goals are at a 30,000 foot view, and then we apply based on what we think lines up with those goals. And they're not super active in unit selection and things of that nature. And then it goes beyond that. If they draw a tag and they are more DIY inclined, if we have any value that we can add to that hunt from past experiences or other hunters and things of that nature, I love the DIY group of guys. We help lots and lots of them. And on the flip side, if they are looking for an outfitter, there is no obligation to book with folks that we work with. But if they would like us to get lined up with somebody that we have a track record with and a relationship with, we're as involved through that whole process from the beginning to the end as they would like us to be. And there's never anything tying them to, say, an outfitter that we work with or whatever. We're there to help as much as they want us to.
I love what I love about that is there's this vetting process, because there's so many scams out there, man. I had a couple of guys, they were old buddies of mine that came out and hunted at the lodge with me this last month for archery season, and they were telling me about some of the things that they'd done in the past, and one of them was like they paid, I want to say it was like $3,500 for basically like this phone call where this guy gave them some direction as to where to hunt elk in Wyoming. And now, again, these are old Marine buddies of mine, so I was able to really give them a hard time about this. I'm like, what? Walk me through that again. You paid $3,500 to jump on a phone call for a guy to tell you to, here's a map. This is where the elk are. Your tag lets you hunt right here. Go ahead. And that's like, to me, that's like highway robbery. That's theft. And so I like when you can combine something like the draw and people that want to go hunt and Eastman's and all these things. There's, not just the credibility side of it, because you guys all know, I mean, between what you guys know and what Eastman's been doing for 30, 40 years, we know these units. We know how these systems work, and this is all vetted, and you're not out there just ripping people off, giving them any kind of advice that any Joe Schmo off the street can do. There's power behind that, and it helps people so that they're not wasting their money. And on the website, it's got. So guys, by the way, I'll have this website. It's eastmans.com/the-draw/, and I'll have that in the show notes. But if you're interested in this is because I want to kind of summarize and make sure I'm on the right path here. But full service application programs, expert guidance, trusted outfitter connections, DIY and guided options. So there's something for everybody. And as like kind of a summary, you could just take the reins of a person's interest in what they want to hunt and where they want to hunt and manage that to the point where you get them the tag, and then it's off to the races for them. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it is. We get them the tag, and then if they, like I said, if they have a plan in place with an existing relationship, great. If they don't have a plan and they want to make a plan, then we, tap into it. I mean, it even like when we're making unit selections, like obviously, right in the beginning of the first consultation, we're going to ask, like, are you more inclined to go DIY or are you more inclined to go guided? And some guys kind of are in the middle of that. Like they would, if they drew a mountain goat tag in Montana or Wyoming, like they're going to go with an outfitter. But on a year-to-year basis, if they're just drawing a nice, like a general deer tag, they may be more inclined to just go DIY. And then other guys are very rigid DIY and very rigid guided. And when we're making unit selections for those guys, like that's very important information, because if I know the guy's for sure going to go guided, well, then I'm putting him in units that I have an answer for. Like I've got a relationship. I've got a plan in place for him to continue down that path. Where if he's DIY, like I have other areas that I have long histories of sending guys DIY, and they've had success, and they're seeing animals, and they're being successful in those areas and can help. And as you kind of know, you can imagine there's a little bit of a tightrope to walk, that I'm doing all of that because to make sure I'm maintaining those relationships with those outfitters and stuff. If I load the boat with a bunch of DIY guys in their units and things like that, like that's not helping them, it's not helping me. And yet I have ways of helping everyone by making sure that when I put you in for this DIY unit, I don't even have any moral dilemmas about sharing with you some things that I know about it, and where to go and what to do. And this is where I would base up at, so that we can help. Like that's the whole idea, is to, again, get people out there as often as they want, and then be as involved as they would like us to be in the build up to it, so that hopefully they send a crazy story and a cool picture, in the aftermath of it.
Heck yeah, man. So you've been doing this since what, 2018? Is that what you said?
So the draw has existed since August of 2018. That's right. Yep.
And then you were doing, with Cabela's before and all that kind of stuff. So like in your experience, what are like some big misconceptions that people have about the application process that you find when you get to talking to people? It's like, oh wait, we gotta change your perception or your expectation or something like that. Sure. that we can maybe debunk some myths right now.
I think that it's almost a double-sided sword. I think that there is a misconception on the amount of time that it takes to draw great tags. Like I say, it goes both ways. You'll have guys that will call and they want to get in on sheep and moose and goat, and they have this like, I'm in for the long haul, and the long haul for them is like 4 or 5 years, and you're like, guys, like the sheep, moose, goat, bison, like that's just gambling for hunting. It's cool that some of the states keep track of how many times they've told us no, and it's kind of a badge of honor if you've played the game long enough, but it's not a
Yeah.
means to it. Yeah, it's not a means to an end. And on the flip side of that, you'll have folks that are just like, well, I would never wait 20 years to go on an elk hunt. Like that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, or a good deer hunt. And like they don't know that, like, for example, if you were going outfitted in Montana, you could have a good deer and elk tag in your pocket annually, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not going guided, you could do it every other year. And in Colorado, if you want to hunt mule deer, that, like, there's over 100 hunts that you would be guaranteed to draw with 3 points or less, some of them, like over 100 of them. I mean, I've got a guy, like, I have like the best story about Colorado. Like, I had 5 dudes go on a deer hunt in Colorado 2 years ago, all staying in the same Airbnb, all buddies together. All of them are pretty talented hunters.
Hmm.
And that hunt that they went on took 3 points to draw. It was a third rifle deer hunt. And when the smoke cleared, one of the guys ate his tag, never did see a buck that he was interested in. One of the guys drew, or excuse me, killed I'd say like a 3-year-old 3x4, like a
Uh-huh.
135 inch buck, just a
Yeah.
buck.
Decent buck.
The
Yeah.
the third guy shot like a legit 150-inch 2 point. This thing was badass,
Whoa.
like heavy
Really?
horn, big, just huge, deep, cool old deer. The fourth guy shot a high 160s buck that's 28 inches wide. He's a little weak on the back, but great fronts, big eye guard, just a great, good looking deer. And the fifth guy shot a buck that's 22 inches wide and gross 212.
Wow. Really?
Like, and if that isn't sums up what deer hunting is in Colorado, like, I don't know what is. Like that, like, throw a dart at Colorado and you just hit a county that produced a 200-inch deer. I promise.
Hmm.
Like it,
Yeah.
and so the back to your question, the misconception, that's three points, 3 years, and you're not. It's not a luck driven system. It's your turn to go in 3 years. In that same year, I had a guy kill a 217 that was 33 inches wide on a hunt that took 2 points to draw on public land by himself.
Jeez, man. I
He,
need that tag.
yeah, I mean,
217 muley, huh?
my wife has that tag in 2 weeks, actually.
Oh,
We're
really?
Yeah, we're going. Like, I burned. She wants to shoot 150-inch mule deer so bad, and we've been focused on elk for a few years, and she's been kind of checking some boxes on that, but she's just never walked up to just a real good looking 4x4 mule deer. I mean, we live in New Mexico. It's hard to come by down
Sure.
here. And she had way more points than she needed, but and unlucky for her, like, don't tell her I said this, but sometimes, like, she's the guinea pig. I'm like, I'm gonna go see it, and I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
enough points, but you do. So let's go and take a look. So I'm excited. I think it's a unique place. It's one of these places that I'm finding more often, like, the amount of private in an area is a reflection of the age class. And it usually, if there's a lot of private, it doesn't take near as many points to draw as the areas. Like, most of the hardest stuff in the country to draw is a combination of age class and public land access,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
And physicality. Throw physicality in there. This unit, we're going to be hunting some small parcel, like, not huge expanses of ground. Like, we're going to have our Spartan forge in our hand and watching close at where we're at all the time. But if you want to shoot older age class animals, hunting in those small tracks and using technology that exists now, you can hunt those small tracks with confidence, and it usually lends itself to some older age class animals being around. And she's not looking for the biggest deer in the world. I can tell, opening morning, if we see a 150 4x4, she will be mad at me if we pass it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's gonna
Man,
want to
it's
shoot it real bad. So
that's a hell of a buck. I mean, I just got a mule deer in Wyoming that was roughly like 155 ish. Man, that's a big buck.
it's a big
That is
buck.
just a big buck.
It's
And
it's funny in the mule deer world that buck gets there are people that'll turn their nose up a little bit at that
oh, I
number,
know, I
right?
know. Yeah,
And then in the whitetail world, like that's the breaking point. Like that's where you transition into big. And I don't know how many 200-inch whitetails are getting killed annually in the country and in Alberta right now, and maybe down in Mexico, like free range, fair chase
yeah,
whitetails. But I'll bet you there's as many or more of them as there is 200-inch mule deer getting killed.
yeah,
Like it's and yet the mule deer world will turn their nose a little bit at that 150, and the whitetail world is like all about it. That's
yeah.
for sure a breaking point of a big deer.
I agree, and that depends on where you're at too.
Sure,
That
every
buck I
unit's
killed.
different.
That buck I killed in Wyoming, it probably didn't impress anybody over there. But that buck, you put that buck in Northwest Montana,
Sure.
and that's a smoking buck. I mean, it's
Dude,
just that's why I got. We looked at lots of deer, and I just loved how perfect, symmetrical, that quintessential 4-point buck with the cheaters. So I call them a 5, on each side, and it's just, man, it was just such a cool buck, and I'm so excited to get. I hate. One of the reasons I hate taxidermy is it takes so long to get it back. And so I'm just going to be like antsy until I get him back,
I
but
I can appreciate. I owned a
yeah.
studio for about 8 years down here in New Mexico, so I've been on both sides.
Hmm.
I've waited for them, and I've been the guy saying I'm trying my best.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I want
yeah.
to get them.
I'm not even gonna bug my guy. I'm just gonna leave it alone and
Well,
try to.
the new thing is now, like, take the skull, boil it out, have it in the house, wait for the taxidermist to call. I guess that's not necessarily a new thing, but you see
Yeah,
more of that. Yeah, I just
yeah.
took my boys actually last. My boy drew a mule deer tag in Texas last year and killed about I think that buck went right at 159, but
Uh-huh.
it's a cool buck, and I was like, yeah, we better get that one mounted for you. That and not very many
Yeah, that's
people.
unmountable.
Not many people have killed a mule deer in Texas per se, especially on
Yeah,
a public land area.
yeah. They've got them just up there, kind of in that panhandle, don't they? The
You know, it's actually it goes all the way down the west, all the way
oh,
from
does it
like
really?
Big Bend all the way up to uh Amarillo. Yeah, we
I
have a
guess
big
that makes sense
Texas.
actually. But
We have a
what was
big
that?
program that we kind of refined, I want to say 3 years ago, that we call it our Texas Draw program. So there's like over 600 units and hunts that you can apply for in Texas on state parks and wildlife management areas and refuges and things like that. And for adults, it's like $3.14 per application. And then for the kids, it's actually free. It's literally like there's no cost whatsoever. And it's not for everybody because it is rigidly DIY. Like if you draw a tag, you can't even take your buddy with you. Like you and your buddy need to draw together because they have so much recreational activity on these places. They shut it down to everyone except the hunters for these periods of time. And it's like hunting. Some of them are like hunting in like a park. Like it's nuts.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, they have mule deer and tons of like better whitetail than I would have ever imagined in some of those areas. There's exotic hunts, aoudad, axis deer, nilgai, all sorts of like just stuff
Really?
like and yeah, it's one of our coolest programs for guys that want to go DIY and are looking for just a cheap way to have a few more tickets in the bucket a year and trying and stuff. It's as you can imagine, out of the 600, there is not very many that would warrant driving all the way across the country to go do. But
Yeah.
that's our whole program is about. Is we've identified those ones that are, and we help guys get applied for all of that stuff. And it's
I might hit you up on that one. I
dude,
think
it's
that'd be
the
fun.
coolest.
Like
I think we
I'd love
drew
to take my girls
14
down there.
tag. We have 14 tags this year that we drew with some
Uh-huh.
kids and adults going down to like we have two kids who drew what one of the more notable places called the Powderhorn. It's
Uh-huh.
down just north of Houston, and they actually have a free ranging herd of sambar deer that live out in this marsh. And it's a really good free ranging herd, not like the herd on St. Lucia Island in Florida, but like they're there. There's plenty of deer,
Really?
and there's access deer all over it. And so when these kids drew this tag, it's for a whitetail, is the primary, and they can shoot one buck whitetail and like three whitetail does. They can shoot up to one buck access deer and two access does, one sandbar stag, and two hinds, and as many pigs as they want. And they get like 4 days to just go in there, and like if it's alive, the kids get to shoot it pretty much.
I want that tag for my
Dude,
daughters.
I'm telling you, I can't wait to hear how it goes for them. And I don't know what it'll I mean the success rates you can dig through and find, like these kids go in there and they shoot stuff like they have a
Yeah,
great,
man.
and it's no access fee, no, they got to buy a $7 non-resident youth hunting license and the gas to get there, and they have this
Wow.
awesome hunt. So yeah, that's Texas is a cool one, and I think that like that's why you don't see our competitors or anybody really pushing that, is that there's no way to monetize it like with outfitting. It's
Hmm.
rigidly DIY. It's so, if anything, I'm really proud of that program, because I think that that's us trying to show hard that we are different. We are just hunters. We're most of us have guided extensively across the West and spent a lot of time in the woods. But when we go with our families, like I'm that guy that I love going with my brothers. We try and do a DIY hunt every couple of years somewhere together, but there is plenty of times where I'm like, no, 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 no. I just burned like 12 points on this. Like I'm getting an outfitter. Like I'm
Yeah.
going, yeah, I'm gonna double down, get the most of, yeah, I'm trying to get the most value I can out of this tag. And in the meantime, hunt with my family and do what I want in the other times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally. I'm both. There's a lot of people are like, they're purists with the no outfitter. It's always DIY. Man, you're limiting your experiences, and you're also limiting the ability to learn from other guides. And I mean, I'm a guide, but I would totally hire a guide for the amount of points that I've got already in Wyoming. When I'm ready to pull the trigger on Wyoming, I'll probably go with an outfitter, just
100%.
because I want the knowledge, the local knowledge as to
I want to
where to
maximize
best.
the
I want to
investment.
maximize that tag. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
want to maximize it. I just spent a decade. I mean, that's the money part of it. It does add up. I get it. Like these state fees can be are just like all the time. It's just like everything. It's going up, but it's the time as I'm in my 40s now, and I think about like how old I'll be if I was to burn one of my points that has like 15 points associated with it. Like if I just started over, first of all, it won't be 15 years. It'll take longer, 15 years from now, to
yeah,
draw that tag. So it's going to creep a little bit. But if I like that, I'm not going to get those years back. So
exactly.
the idea of like doubling down on the investment, and then when I just want to go with my brothers, then we find places like Montana or eastern Wyoming or Colorado that take a point or two or three or whatever, and we burn them and go, and then I can relax about what I'm doing there. I'm just there for fun. I'm there because I want to hang out with my brothers and we can
Yeah,
hunt our butts off. And if I'm in a unit that historically the age class is 150, 160 class deer, when I see one of those, I can shoot that deer without having this nagging feeling like, oh my God, am I getting the most out of this time that I spent? It's like, no, I spent a couple of years doing this, and this isn't the only thing I've got in the pipeline. I've got
yeah,
10 more of these in the pipeline.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I can just hunt it for what it is and enjoy it, instead of having to have some lofty goal associated with it every time I step out of my home state.
Here's a question I get every once in a while that I'd like to throw at you. Somebody that lives like in the southeast or on the east, not anywhere but the west, California outside of that. What is it? Is it feasible and reasonable that if they were, linked up with the draw and you guys were kind of managing their future hunts and whatnot, can a guy draw a half decent or better tag on an annual basis somewhere in the West?
100%. Yeah, I mean that's like probably the second question that my consultants are going to ask guys when they call in to get kind of lined up is how often in the next 10 years would you like to go on one of these types of experiences, and whether that's a once a year, twice a year, once every 3 years, whatever it may be. Like there are you can accomplish that much easier. Now you're probably not going to hunt the same state or the same unit 2 years in a row.
Sure.
Especially if you're a DIY hunter, it will be better for you if we hunt the same places a couple of times in a 10-year period, because you're going to, where you start on year two is inherently going to be different than where you started year one, because you learned,
Yep.
while you're there. So we want to build some momentum if you're DIY and you're going to hunt the same places a couple of times in that 10 years, but not consecutive years more often than not. But yeah, there's so much out there that if guys are actively wanting to, again, use the applications to create the opportunity. And it's like, I'll even throw one more thing in there about that. It's like hunters, just so many of us have this inherent built-in desire to out hunt our peers, right? Like
Yep.
that's a thing,
Yep.
right? That's a common thing. And I think it just stems to that you don't want to go into these situations and leave not feeling like you tried as hard as you could. And that's different for everybody. But I would argue that drawing a tag versus buying an over-the-counter tag is the first step in taking a step past other hunters, because you're already, obviously you're hunting somewhere that isn't just wide open for everyone to be there. So
Yeah.
you take that one step, and now you're not competing with the entire world, you're competing with the people who it was their turn to go into that unit that year. And usually that means a lot less competition, and then we can kind of get started from there. So yeah, whether even if it's a hoop that you're jumping through, like a Montana deer tag, for example, that you just are gonna go every other year on that Montana deer tag, DIY, or every year with an outfitter, like by simply doing that, I would argue, like so much of Montana's deer hunting, like I would be curious as your opinion, but I think the likelihood of killing that 150 to 160 class mule deer in eastern Montana is as likely to happen there for a guy as it is anywhere in the country. Like that's a thing. Like there's lots of guys shooting that caliber of deer in eastern Montana right now, even DIY. And the same would be in Colorado. Well, there's a whole bunch of places in New Mexico that you can apply and come and hunt, but you're not going to find that caliber of deer. You're just simply
Sure.
not. So if you'll just jump through the right hoops and go to the right places, you're going to find that, and you can do it. I mean, as often as you want to go. And elk is no different. Like just
Yeah.
submit the application and take that one step past all those other hunters who did not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally agree. Other than I don't think there's any 150 class deer in Montana for non-residents. They just don't exist. They're all in New Mexico, from what I heard.
Yeah, good. God bless
So
the person who listens to that.
what do you think like the hardest tag for bull elk to draw in the West is? Is it like that Unit 20 Arizona kind of thing, or what do you think that is?
Well,
And
so
is it worth it?
the easy answer to that, but this isn't the question you're asking, but it would obviously be Grizzly Island Thule, right, in California. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's the hardest. That's the holy grail. The hardest. Beyond that, I would say right now, like an early rifle tag in like 23 South Arizona. I want to say that's probably the hardest tag to draw in the country.
Whoops, I lost your video. There you
Oh,
go.
there we go. No, I don't know what happened there.
You're back.
Yeah, I off the top of my head, I think that's probably it. Possibly, um, the way that the system works, you could argue that like a 111, 115 Nevada tag, because there is no max point pool, kind of like Montana.
Yeah.
So even if you have the most that you could possibly have, and you've been playing that game for 33 years, you still have to beat some odds, some really long odds to draw. So that one might be, but there's a few of them like that out there that even with 30 points, you have a less than 1% chance of drawing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I mean, I just there's so much we could cover here, but I think we got the basics of, if you're listening to this and you're somebody that doesn't have the time or doesn't have the desire like me, or maybe you're brand new to hunting and just getting into this and need some help and some guidance as to how to hunt the West with these tags, whether you're DIY or outfitted or whatever, the opportunity's there. And one thing, I think a good analogy, like I have to jump off now because I'm having this delivery of firewood coming. Right.
Nice.
Now, here's the thing, Jordan. I live in some old growth timber type country. I could go cut wood all day long and fill up my wood shop. I could
Great
do that.
analogy. Yeah,
I've got a great chainsaw, and I love my chainsaw, man. And I love cutting wood, and I love splitting wood. But man, it's so time consuming. I'd rather spend a couple $100 and have this dude bring me this big trailer, a couple cords of wood, and drop it, and I'll stack it up myself, and now I've got wood for my wood burner all winter long, and it's just that's my option. I could go spend a couple days doing my own wood, or I can have some dude bring it here, and it's going to take me 20 minutes. And so that's kind of what this is going to, how this relates to the folks looking to come out west and hunt, or maybe you live in the West and you just want to hunt, some other state. I think that this is perfect. This is the perfect solution to help alleviate the stress and the magnitude of research that goes into these tags. You guys already have this dialed in, and I love it. I think it's a great opportunity. And is there anything else you want to add to that people should know?
I don't think so. I think if go to Eastman's / the draw, or the dash draw, and fill out I think they have like little information where they gather a little bit of information, and get on the phone.
Yeah, they do.
With one of our consultants. I mean, these guys are all day, every day. This is all that they do, and they're very good at it. And I guess the only thing I would say is, like, we're in the relationship building business, so be prepared for a long phone call, like longer than you're probably normally having with anyone else in your life, because we have a lot of stuff to cover, and the complexity of it requires, I think, so many questions to help us understand, and then we can help guys make better decisions, and help them we love the more someone understands the game, the better the questions become, and the deeper down the rabbit hole we get to be, and the more they're understanding it, the funner I think that it is. It really, it is like the funnest game in the world. I don't know what it is about. Like, I think I have 27 points for sheep in Utah for deserts.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know what it is about that email that comes, and I know it's going to say unsuccessful, but that what if for this fleeting second, as I click on it and find out that once again, it's not me, it's not my turn, is like, I don't know why an unsuccessful still, the game is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And watching people like that really have no background whatsoever, but they really want it. They know they want the end result. And if they'll just call and we can show them the path, like the first time they send me a picture of whatever. It's a 130-inch mule deer. It's a 70-inch antelope. It's a 5x5 bull elk, and it's
Sure.
just like they did it. Like it's this thing that seemed so unobtainable is now sitting there, and they did it. And then watching them progress as hunters beyond that, and I love it. Like it's one of the
Yeah.
I'm lucky I get to sit in a chair and you just see such a broad view of it, and you watch these guys come through and accomplish some really amazing things that matter so much to them. And all they needed was just a little bit of a push in the right direction, and they're off to the races. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a great way to put it. I love it. I love watching this whole thing come together, whether it's, I just had I had a couple of hunters come from Wisconsin, and I got to take them out, and they're going home. It's a husband and wife, 2 bulls, 2 bucks. Seeing how that comes together, that is a dream come true for folks. And I can't,
it is.
There's just satisfaction. I imagine there's a lot of satisfaction from your end of the table.
Was that their first time hunting, Jim?
No, nope.
The first time out west.
It was I think it was her first time. It was her first bull elk. He's gone. He went somewhere else in Montana a few years ago and got a bull. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. Such a rare thing for a husband and wife to double up on a couple of elk. First opening morning, right there 40 yards from each other.
All the anxiety's gone.
All the anxiety's gone.
They just get to absorb the moment and be in the moment there. Because
and we had some private land access for those elk, and that's a really huge perk with our outfitter. Was we have a ton of private land access that we work out with those landowners, and she caught a really nice buck on it, and then some of the guys were giving me a hard time. Well, you give me access to that ranch, I'll get my hunters. Okay, well, challenge accepted. So I took the dude up the next morning on public land and got him a mule deer. So I'm not bragging. But
I like it.
It's just the point is these are dreams for people that they think about often and are willing to do, and like from your end of the table, being able to fulfill those dreams for other people has got to be satisfying. And before I forget, yes, if you get on the eastmans.com/thedraw, which again that'll be in the show notes, you go down to start your hunt plan. You fill out your basic info, your name, your email, whatever, and then you could select all the animals that you are interested in: elk, mule deer, whitetail, antelope, moose, sheep, goat, predators, waterfowl, other. I wonder what other is. That might pertain to those Texas hunts.
Or oryx and ibex, all that in New Mexico and some of that stuff. Yeah.
So and then you just fill out if you have any points built up, or if you're just starting out, either way, you guys can help that individual, start working towards fulfilling that dream. And I think that's a really cool thing, man. That it's the opportunity is there like it never has been, right? I mean, think about like the 1980s. This kind of stuff wasn't available, and so it's available now. Shoot, folks, take advantage of this. So anyway, I think it's awesome. It's a great tool. So you mix the draw with the rest of Tag Hub, and you guys listening, if you're not elite members at Eastman's, if you're not, and you're not getting like the magazine, if you are interested in getting that, you should check it out, because you also get thrown into this draw to win hunts. And it's just that's a free thing. You sign up. Okay, I'm an Eastman's Elite member. Now I've got Tag Hub. I've got the Elk Collective, the Deer Collect, all this stuff, the magazine, and you're also entered to win a hunt. And these can be antelope hunts, elk hunts, deer hunts, and that's free. And people think that it's like this long shot, but I got to go hunting a few weeks ago with the Eastman's hunt winner. And the dude was like, I didn't think in a million years I'd win this hunt. And now he's in Wyoming hunting antelope. It's such a cool thing. So that you guys should check that out. And that's my plug for Eastman's right now. I love it. You're crazy not to be. It's so cheap. So anyway. Well, cool, Jordan. I really appreciate it, man. I think we should do this again for sure. I mean, there's so much to cover, and this is such a big topic, you know.
Yeah, we're just kind of getting started with the like the core of the app season is right in front of us, right? Like tomorrow, Wyoming's deadline, but then we Alaska, and then the new big one is Idaho. Again, waiting on kind of seeing what shakes out with that. That's going to be the first crack at an elk tag of the year. Will be December 15th in Idaho, and then Alaska. Alaska's not for everybody, right? That's kind of a next level thing, but I think that's a common misconception is the draw areas in Alaska are just like the draw areas in every other state. They're managed better. They're managed for better age classes and higher success rates. And if those types of species are of interest, like maybe it's worth looking at rolling the dice in that state, because the odds aren't nearly as you can imagine, not near as many people are applying. So the odds are pretty good. It's pretty legitimate roll of the dice.
Alaska's on the horizon for me for sure.
Yeah, and then it goes from, I mean, then we're in a whirlwind after that. Wyoming elk and then Arizona elk, and away we go. But
maybe we should circle back to this conversation around. I hate that term, by the way. Circle back, son of a gun! I can't believe I just said that. But anyway, it always makes me think of, like, I don't know, bureaucracy or something. But come back and pick this conversation back up around, like, right after Christmas or something. And would that work for you?
Yeah, 100%. We can talk about it. Man. That'll be a great one because, like I said, Wyoming elk will be right on the horizon.
Yeah.
And there's some really, there's a few unique things about that deadline that's different than every other app in the country that I think so many guys that have just been mindlessly applying for points in Wyoming, if they knew that some of the subtleties of that draw and what makes it unique, they might be more inclined to take a closer look at actually applying instead of just getting a point. Like it's very different than other deadlines. So
awesome. Well, cool, Jordan. I really appreciate it. This was an awesome conversation, and everybody listening, make sure you are following along at We Are the Draw on Instagram, and then the website for the draw will be in the show notes, so you guys can check that out. Make a call, see if that's something that you feel like could be beneficial to you. Jordan, thanks again for joining me on the show, man. Stick on the line for just a minute, but I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having us very much.
Yeah, no, that was fun. This is good stuff, man. I don't know much about this whole application stuff, so I'm such a over-the-counter hillbilly that I'm just starting to learn. So thanks again to Mystery Ranch, Loophole Optics, Secure It, Phelps Game Calls, Silencer Central, and Browning, specifically the X-Bolt rifle. That's what I got that big old mule deer down in Wyoming with. Guys, thanks for supporting the sponsors. That is what really helps makes this show happen. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time, and talk to you later. You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Western Huntsman, and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on the mountain.